I'm Lenny Graves, and I'm just doing some tarot card readings because that's what I do. Read tarot cards and I do some astrology. If you're interested, check out. I know, let's get that out of the way really quick, right? Check out Dysfunctional Enlightenment on Facebook, YouTube, and I'm Lenny Graves at TikTok and Instagram. What I want to talk to you guys about today is I'm a magician, and the first thing that I think a magician should really learn is illusion, because that way you can see through other people's bullshit. And there's a lot of bullshit on the internet, and when it comes to magic, and when it comes to what things really are, and mediums and occultism and stuff like that. And I thought I'd just touch base on this, is that 99% of the things you find on the internet are just fake. Like most ghost videos you find are fake. If you have to ask yourself, how well is it framed? Was the ghost really going to be in that shot, like dead on? Or, the history of the place or the reactions. One of my favorites is my mom. Honestly, there was a video years ago. It was really convincing. It was like this kid in a glass closet, right? Puts his face up to the window. And it's just fucking terrifying, right? I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. I thought it was real, right? It looked pretty real to me. And I was like, I just Mom, shit's out, right? And she's like, that's not real. And I was like, well, sure it is. And she was like, no, it's not. And I loved that she had the most practical, like, just old mentality. She said, I know it's not real because if you took a picture of that, why you did, you wouldn't be taking a picture. You would scream and shit yourself and run out into the fucking road, right? Because there's a ghost in your closet. You're not going to investigate that shit. Think about your own life. But I want to say this is that doesn't mean ghosts aren't ghostesses. Ghosts aren't real, or supernatural things aren't real. I've witnessed supernatural things, and you probably have in your life too, because you've been drawn to the occult. You didn't come here because you came here because you're looking for occult stuff, and you're like, well, this guy looks like he's got cool lighting, whatever. But yeah. So like when I was a kid, I lived in it. When I was a teenager, I lived in a townhouse that was just absolutely haunted. Cold rooms and shit would move, and child giggles and shit. Nobody was faking that. So, but most of the stuff you encounter on the internet is just bullshit. And most of the occultists on the internet, especially mediums are really guilty of this. And this is what I want to talk to people about. Is it's hard. Mediums say they talk to the dead a lot, and what they do is they cold read you. And you can. It's really easy to cold read somebody. It's not as hard as you think. Anybody who's worked in sales can really do it. And you can watch a ton of YouTube videos where people will debunk this better than me. But most of the time, if somebody says they can talk to your dead grandma, I'm sorry, that's a cold way to put it, or Elvis or something like that, they can't. They don't have that ability. They never have that ability. They're bullshitting you. And they're just looking for reads. And the reason for that is it's not because, there's not people who are mediums. There are. It's just there's not a lot of real ghosts. And the reason there's not a lot of real ghosts is because ghosts aren't real or anything like that. The ghosts are absolutely real. If you look at like life on the quantum level and echoes of reality and like energy and vibration and stuff like that, it's absolutely possible for ghosts to exist. But they're not as common as you think. And a lot of it has to do with consciousness. Like in the ether or in the ethereal or the astral, the next realm, step sideways, however you want to put it, right? You can't keep your consciousness there very long. You're not supposed to. You get recycled into the big wheel, the big wheels that kids used to ride. I know, like the great wheel. Or you, what's a good way to put it? You reincarnate basically, or you ascend wherever that might be. I don't think anybody really knows. We kind of hint at it, our religions and beliefs and stuff like that, but we don't really know how to break the cycle of eternal death and rebirth and all that kind of good stuff, because death isn't the end. Anybody who's taken enough psychedelics will know that. But rarely is a person strong enough of will to linger. And so what usually ghosts are one or two things. They're absolute bullshit, and that's okay. Or they're not ghosts. They're things that pretend to be ghosts. There's lots of spirits and sprites and elves and demons and stuff like that exist in the ether, and beings that exist on different levels, and they feed off of human energy. They really do. Gnostics have been talking about this for years, and they play off of fears and desire and all that kind of good stuff, and ghosts are part of that. So, if you do have a Ouija board and it says like your long lost uncle's talking to you, it's probably not. It's probably like, I hate to say a demon because people say, well, there's guys, hey, see, there's demons about. My cats are hissing. That's kind of creepy, isn't it? Anyway, I'm an evil black cat. But so ghosts. They're trying to block my message. Demons, and I don't really like the term demons because it's just spirits that want to fuck with people. They'll use that angle to fuck with people, where there's no real angle there, where your uncle has either gone on or reincarnated, became somebody else. And it's because you can't really keep your consciousness together. Anybody who's, again, and I'll do talks on psychedelics. Psychedelics is where you get a lot of these answers, because that's where we can really start to look into the next world, right? DMT and magic mushrooms, I think, are the way to go there. LSD is fine and stuff like that too. And again, I don't advocate doing any of these things. This seems to be illegal where you live. We would never break the law of the oppressive Illuminati-like government that we live under. But anyway, psychedelics will help open that third eye, and then you'll be able to see the patterns and stuff like that. And if you go deep enough, you'll disconnect from your body, right? You'll experience, I don't know, the next level of consciousness, however you want to put it. You got to take a lot. It's really scary. And when you're there, you'll get what I get is, and people who have, is it's real hard to keep yourself together at that level. That's why they start talking about ego death and stuff like that, right? So the odds of a ghost, like a human consciousness, really keeping it together, they have to have a lot of hate, right? That's why most hauntings are malicious. A lot of will, or felt like they were wronged, or a victim, right? Somebody who's been greatly wronged, you'll see as a haunting usually, or somebody who died horribly, or somebody who's so confused. That's the terrifying part, I think, too, is that sometimes spirits are so confused or so lost, they think they're still alive, and they manage to dodge the eye of the archon or the demiurge that pulls them back into the cycle of creation. And these are what become ghosts, but they're rare. They're just not common. And if they were common, we would know this by now, because you pick up more stuff on cell phones. And here's the thing, I really don't think technology and the supernatural work together very well. I think, in fact, they quite opposite, like that electronic eye helps. Okay, so let's assume for a second that maybe the things that are telling us in school aren't just 100% true. Like our understanding, like physics and cosmology and stuff, might just be a little bit tampered with, because maybe people are trying to control us and make us believe something. If the universe is really more like vibration and energy, right? What vibration we give out, how we interact with it, the song we sing, the thoughts we put forth, the waves of probability that go out, right? Well, that's gonna alter and resonate. So what if there is, and I like the term, it's from this old role playing, it's technocracy, right? I think that works really well. What if there's this technocracy, right? And this oppressive grid that they've put over the entire world, like this worldwide web, right? They don't even lie when they tell you how things are. This is an amazing thing too, and this works in magic a lot, is you can't lie to people. You gotta tell them what you're doing. Like, if they're gonna charm you, they're gonna charm you, right? But they tell you this, and this sounds paranoid, but it's really in the name. It's like television programming, right? They tell you they're gonna program you. They do from the beginning. They don't lie. They're going to say that Hollywood, that literally means it's a magic wand to enchant people, right? They don't lie. They tell you exactly what they're doing. And the way you perceive reality becomes locked down. Electronics and the supernatural don't really mix together, because they're different forms of the supernatural. If you don't think electronics are supernatural, you haven't really stopped and thought about for a second, like, how a radio works. That's kind of trippy. People don't stop for a second. It's a beam of energy that shoots through the air and gets collected by something and it's translated with. It's weird. It's weird, and there's dozens of textbooks that'll explain it away as simple science, but if you were to take that back in time, it would just blow people's mind, where they might get their mind around an internal combustion engine a little bit easier, if that makes sense. So the people who control the world, I don't know who that is, right? I'm not going to go into the conspiratorial parts of that, but the people who have everything their way, right? Their form of belief system, it locks that down, and it holds. I think that general resonance, the more technological our world becomes, the more, like, you would think we would see more cases of the supernatural and magical occurrences and stuff like that, but I think we just see less. I just think we're seeing less and less, because more and more people are being told again and again, it only exists in movies. It only exists in electronic consciousness rather than this consciousness. And these things aren't real anymore, right? Like, you can't do spells. And even if you could, like, there's so many years of Hollywood and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. Wizards can't throw fireballs. They never really could, right? spells take a long time, and the more powerful ones take a lot of energy and sacrifice for a minimal effect. Like, what was it? Witches used to have to boil the fat of unbaptized children to fly and stuff like that, where you just walk there. There's a lot of effort in spells and stuff like that. That, like, even when I do a spell for someone, it's not like you can just shoot a lightning bolt to hex your enemy or make a potion that will instantly rejuvenate you. No, it's about belief and process and matching a resonance and a harmony that goes out and kind of changes reality, but it's in a very gradual way, right? But we're told in pop culture that that's not how magic works. Magic's obviously not real, right? And that's just not true. You have anybody who has their tarot cards read regularly, or someone who is a tarot card reader, that's like bullshit. You can't get the. You've played enough games in life, chance just doesn't come hidden that many times, right? And I'm not saying that you're always going to be right as a tarot reader, or that, like, you should always trust your psychic or whatever that is, but there's something to that. And I'm sorry, I got away from my point. My point is that in the technocracy that we live in the lockdown world, incidents of the supernatural, I think, are more and more rare than they normally would be. And so really look out when you see like videos. It's probably a hoax, and I suspect this has been a lot of times throughout the years, like the old spiritualists, and they used to make fake ectoplasm and stuff like that. And if you really want to study magic, even if you don't really intend to be like a magic user, right? Like if you don't intend to actually use magic or cast actual real spells or go down that route, but especially if you do, the first step you should learn is you should learn a little bit about illusion, is what I like to call it. And that's the magic that magicians practice. Because if you don't think like David Copperfield or Chris Angel or what's that guy's name? David Blaine. They have their own little magic, because for a second they suspend your disbelief and they create chaos because people believe that shit's real for a second. They alter their reality just for a moment. That's the most basic level of magic, and I think that's why illusion's always been associated with magic. But once you understand the basics of illusion, right? Well, then that opens you up to see past like people's bullshit, like, and then you can look for the real. That way you can find people, because I'm not saying that there aren't mediums. There are, and they're usually very troubled. Anybody who's a good empath doesn't walk around with crystals all day screaming about love and light. They're typically fucking alcoholics or chain smokers or smoking marijuana, or doing something in their house because they can't take that many people, right? That's their typical empath. They're burned out. They can't sleep at night. They feel too much. Mediums are attractants. That's not even fucking said. Sorry. Mediums, literally, real ones, pull fucking not just the dead, but dark, light, all kinds of spirits to them, right? These people lead troubled lives. It's not fun. It's not fun to be fucked with all the time, or talked to, or woken up in the middle of the night, or think you're schizophrenic or something like that. I'm not a medium. For me to see entities and stuff like that, it usually requires psychedelics. But I know several people who would qualify, I guess, as mediums, or people who can be like seers and stuff. I've heard enough stories. I've seen enough interaction with people who are the legitimate things. So they are out there, but keep your mind open when you're looking at this stuff. Don't blindly believe and don't blindly disbelieve, I think would be my thing, is because there is a lot of hoax type folks. I'm a poet, I didn't know. There's a lot of hoax. It's just not the best way to put that. Sorry, I'm thinking about three things at once. There's a lot of hoaxes, there's a lot of frauds, there's a lot of people are going to try to bilk people. There's a lot of people who claim to be part of the Illuminati or worship a count that's immortal with some, I'm not even going to go there. Ask them what they're doing for you, and if it's working or not, and what kind of vibe you're really getting from that. I've always said I charge a lot for my tarot card readings and my spells. I don't charge a lot. I charge about like mid for a tarot card reader and stuff like that, because it takes some energy from me, and I'm the best at what I do. And but you get something out of it. I've always said that with anybody. If I read your cards, you're going to get something out of it. If I do spell for you, you're going to get something out of it. I've seen a lot of people get bilked for nothing based on blind belief. So if you're talking to a spiritualist on the internet, if you're talking to a priest, priests are just tarot card readers disguised with collars and altars behind them and stuff like that. Priests make you believe that there's no chance, right? That there's an all-benevolent God that's going to show you the right path, and he just doesn't know what it is. Priests can easily manipulate as well as a spiritualist or a medium or anything else. In fact, priests are the biggest spiritualists there are. If you think about it, they channel not talking to the big guy himself, right? Not just some ghost, not just your like dead uncle, but the father of everybody, right? And be careful what these people want from you and how much you're giving them compared to how much you're getting back from it. If you're giving to somebody and you're getting back from it, if you go to a spiritualist and if it resonates with you and it's not breaking your bank or something like that, makes you happy, fuck yeah, you go. If you go to a tarot card reader, I really believe, and the cards show you something, and that's a way that points you in the right direction, gives you some guidance in the Kali Yuga because it's hard to find that. I say go. If going to church on Sunday makes you happy, hey, I say go. But when you're going, like, don't be a little old lady who gives half her savings to a pastor so that he can go with his mistress and buy a yacht. Don't give me more money than you can afford so that I can tell you what your future is going to be next week, because there's other ways you can do that. You don't need to do that. Look the intent behind what people are doing, and then also look at what really kind of results they're after or they're producing. Like I guess ghosts are my thing because there's so many ghost hunter shows, and there's no ghosts. There's no ghosts there. There's clicking sounds and EMF meters and whatever bullshit. It's not. The dead are incredibly rare, and the dead are not typically the dead as they're presented in like ghost hunter shows, mediums, Hollywood, whatever. Your consciousness doesn't really exist that long in the ether after you die that way. You either get reincarnated or you move on. It's very rare for someone to have the strength of will to keep themselves together that long, or they're completely mad. And those are the sad souls. I'm kind of an empathic person. Empathic person. There we go. I'm sorry, I can't talk tonight. A couple times, spirits are trying to keep me from telling you guys this. So I'll pick up on it doesn't matter. Just keep a lookout for things like that. Don't let people bilk you, and don't let the internet charm you with like. There's just so many bullshit mediums and ghost videos and things like that on the internet. I just find it that I wanted to make this video to let people know that that's not really quite how ghosts work. And I'm hoping that makes some sense. Again, you have to have really a psychedelic perspective, and I might do a talk about that because you got to look into the next world. And when you do, you realize consciousness doesn't quite work the way people think. Like, there's a lot of esoteric wisdom in the Bible. A lot of people from the satanic community, the pagan community, don't like to admit that, but there's a reason that the Bible lasted as long as it did. And it's not because a Jewish carpenter walked across water and came back from the dead. Those are metaphorical stories. But within those stories, there's esoteric wisdom, like you can move a mountain if you really want to, right? That's about altering your reality. And one of this is like when the Christ is talking to some people, and they ask like, whose wife is it in the next life, right? And he basically tells them like, it doesn't even fucking matter. And that's probably the best interpretation of the afterlife, is when you transform your consciousness, when you're no longer tied to the body. Like, I don't think, like when I've done a deep dive in psychedelics, and this is the thought I'll leave you with, is I think I came close to the point where you could like check out from reality, right? Like you could ascend, like you're on the verge, right? But always what brings me back is like, I like tacos, sour cream. They don't have those in the ninth dimension or wherever the hell it goes where we die, wherever the hell we go when we die. They don't really care about Star Wars. They don't I have a sense that there's positive and negative energy, like, and I know this might, like, I hope it doesn't offend anybody or put anybody off, but I think you always have a positive or a negative charge, a masculine or feminine charge. There's too much duality in the universe. And that's pretty constant. Like some people say you reincarnate in, you know what, I'll save that for another talk. But yeah, when you leave this form, right, then you don't have the same constraints of this form or the same desires. So you don't care who your wife is. And it's the same thing like when you go on, like if you were a ghost, you aren't going to care about who murdered you, unless if you're real hateful. You're not going to care about any of that stuff. You're just going to do you're just going to move on because it's so different. Your consciousness is so different and so not tied to the body anymore. Unless, if, like I said, you have some really like strong will to avenge, or you're lost or insane. Like I said, that's kind of sad. And I guess this talk's kind of rambly because it goes over a bunch of different subjects. But long story short is, don't let yourself be bilked by medium, spiritualist, occultist on the internet. Just listen to your heart and your gut on that. And usually if it's too good to be true. And like, if you see some like really chilling video that happens to be perfectly shot of a ghost, it's probably not a ghost. It's probably, if you look around, somebody will have to talk to. But I've been talking for 20 minutes, guys, and that's probably way too long. This is supposed to be a 10-minute video, but and I don't even want to publish it because I felt a little rambly. But if it seems like it was a good talk, then I'll put it out. This will be the point. I'll say, hey, if you'd like to have your tarot cards read, check me out at Dysfunctional Enlightenment on Facebook or YouTube. I am the Lenny Graves at TikTok. Or you can also find me at Lenny Graves. I have a distinctive logo. And feel free to send me a message and we can set that up. I'm going to plan to be more internet presence stuff. I do pick a card readings probably every other week. And I'll try to do a couple talks where we talk about magic or odd things. Maybe the next talk my friend of mine was talking about. No one likes the sequels to The Matrix. And they're actually pretty good if you know anything about Gnosticism. So I thought maybe we'd talk about that because it's a good way to talk about Gnosticism too with the Matrix. It's a good way to understand it. And then maybe we'll do some other kind of topics. If there's any esoteric stuff for magic stuff, I like the word esoteric. Doesn't sound cool. Magic stuff, all that kind of good stuff. Put a comment below and I'll tell you what I think about it. Maybe I'll even do a video about it if it's really cool. Thank you guys for listening to me yammer. I hope you got something out of it. I got a lot out of talking to the camera. I hope you guy behind the camera did get something out of it. Thanks again. And as I said, the more of these videos I do, hopefully it'll get a little bit better. Remember, keep your third eye open, keep magic in, or do whatever. I love you, my lost and dark soul, and we'll talk to you all later.